If you couldn't tell anyone about anything you've ever achieved, and you couldn't tell anyone about any goal that you are currently striving for, then how much would these things still mean to you? We seem to all spend such a great deal of our time choosing our goals and acquiring achievements based on how we think other people will view us once we have surpassed that threshold or once we've acquired this thing. We will spend our time on what we perceive to be the most impressive thing, the thing that other people will marvel at the most once they realise we've done it or that we've got it. Now, as someone who has spent a number of years now essentially priding myself on white-knuckling my way through difficulty and using grit as my only measure of worth within myself, I've come to realise that I have spent such a great deal of my time doing things purely because they're difficult. And a step further than that, doing these things because I know other people will give me that validation. All of these things in my life, and for so many of us, come from a desire to look impressive. We're not doing things because we have a sole purpose of acquiring the value within the subject itself. We're doing it because we know also that there will be the ego stroke at the end of that once you complete something, that someone says to you, well done. That was impressive. If our happiness remains on the other side of the validation of other people and comes from the opinion that someone else offers you regarding what it is that you're spending your time doing, you will and I will reliably spend far too much time in a state of discontent. Because what it is that you have and what it is that you're doing is simply not enough on its own. And you will constantly continue to strive for the response and the reaction. And there's never a point where you are content with that train of thought. There will always be more that you could do. There will always be some summit that is higher than the one you have just surpassed. And as a result of that, your happiness continues to stay on the other side of what it is that you currently have. If you spend your energy doing things that you are essentially just striving to fish compliments for, those compliments don't always come, because people have their own lives and people are engrossed in their own matters. And as a result of that, there is a further sense of discontent that comes from feeling as though you've done something and someone's basically gone, oh wow, well done, that's fantastic, and then nothing. You've spent a year doing this real difficult process. You're working on your own business and you finally got your first sale. And within the space of 30 seconds, someone has palmed off what it is that you thought was wonderfully impressive because they're thinking about their own lives. When we put our happiness on the other side of this validation, we guarantee ourselves discontent. Not only because of the aforementioned point that you are putting your happiness in someone else's hands and you are taking away the license from yourself to do things for the essence of the subject itself, the essence of the task at hand, but you're also saying to yourself that in order to be content, you need to continually complete things and constantly be in competition, either with yourself or with someone else. And when we put ourselves in this position, we invite a tremendous sense of vulnerability within ourselves, because you all of a sudden open up this doorway that within your psyche, the only way you can be happy is if you have something better than what you once had, or better than what someone else has, which is even worse. You will be no stranger to hearing that comment that someone makes about how much money they have in their bank, or how good their body looks, or any of these trivial and egotistical comments that so many people come out with. When someone says that, and when they say, look what I have that you don't have, or you say it to yourself, look what I now have that I didn't once have, and you denounce either yourself or someone else, what you're doing there is saying that the thing you have acquired is inherently not enough to actually make you content. You need the reaction, and you need the validation of someone else's opinion, or just generally the sensation of ego that becomes aware of this acquisition all the time. As someone who has spent such a great deal of time presuming that the only way to be happy is to continually achieve and acquire things, I have learned very recently that happiness cannot simply be placed on the other side of achievement, because there's never ever going to be a time when you feel as though what you have is enough. And this is where it becomes ever so critical to actually pride yourself on choosing the habits and the way you live your life based on what you actually want to do and what is important to you at that. I have recently come back from a silent meditation retreat, which I'm sure I shall speak on at a later date once I've unpacked things, but I realise a great deal of what brought me to that experience was just to say that I had gone. And as someone who has come away from that feeling uncomfortable with how everything went and discontent with the experience itself, besides the silver linings that always come from experience, I realised that I did that retreat and I went on that experience just to say that I'd done it. I spent that time in misery just to say that I had done something that I thought someone else might find impressive. When that came up for me, the veil fell from my eyes and I realised very quickly just how much of my life, and possibly how much of all of our lives, is spent doing things for the sake of how other people will perceive us. Make your prerogative to be what you want to be. Don't choose to take someone else on at their own game or to follow another path just because it has the allure and the ego stroke of a compliment. If you have to have someone else say to you, "Well done, you did really well there," or "That was fantastic," or "You look so great," in order to be content with what it is that you've got and what it is that you've worked for, that needs to be addressed in itself, because there's a pernicious cycle and spiral that comes from never being happy with what you have done for yourself and not being able to congratulate yourself at that. So if you want to read a book because the book intrigues you and you find it intensely interesting, then read it for that purpose. Don't read Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky just so that you can throw into conversation that you've read Crime and Punishment by the fabled Dostoevsky. Don't go to the gym for the sake of the people in the gym looking at you and saying, "God, he's in good shape." Go to the gym because you want to feel good about yourself. Make all of your habits go through a stress testing of choosing whether you are doing this thing because you believe in the task at hand and because you feel as though there's genuine value to what you're about to spend your time on. Don't let it go through that process without also asking whether you are doing this because you know other people will observe you and will make an opinion based on what you're doing. If you're choosing to spend your time on something because you think someone else will have an opinion of it, then you probably shouldn't be spending your time on it. So with that being said, make sure that you use not only the finite amount of time that you have on this planet, but also the ephemeral attention that you are afforded in this time for the things you actually want to do. Don't do something because you think it will make you look impressive. Do it because it heals you. Do it because it invigorates you. Choose to spend your time on the things that speak to you as a person, not on what you think other people will find impressive or what you think society expects you to do. Money, stature, fame, all of these things are unimportant if the only thing that holds it together for you is that someone else can look and say that you are the things you want to be. It all comes from within, and with that known, you have to spend your time on the things you actually want to do. See you in a bit.